So I'm going to do this video which kind of talks about while Zayda's over here playing. So you're going to hear all types of little noises and animal sounds and ribbits and all that type of stuff, dog sounds. But if I leave the room to actually make a video, she's going to scream her head off. And Noelle hasn't gotten off work yet, so yeah. The lighting, I apologize, it's not going to be the best of. This is not where we're going to be doing videos. We're going to have an actual room to do videos in the future, but right now we haven't gotten everything here yet. So anyhow, wanted to talk about a topic that kind of people were asking early on about Noelle and I in terms of our relationship. How do we make it work, that type of thing, and how do I find a person that is like my soulmate type thing. I don't know the answers to that, to be honest with you. I can only speak what worked for me and what worked in our circumstance. Noelle and I's circumstance by far is going to be different than anybody else and most people. It's just that we had a good dynamic and we worked well together towards the end. Now in the beginning, not so much. Noelle and I, we fought like cats and dogs. Like, we didn't really agree on a lot. She was coming out of a bad, well, she already came out of a bad marriage. I had been out of a bad marriage probably, I don't know, 2 years prior to her. Well, no, let's see. 8, yeah. And so with her, I think it was like a little bit less time than that, maybe. I don't know, a year, something like that, that she had been out of a bad marriage, or a marriage that wasn't really hopeful or good, you know, based on what she's saying. Me, same thing. It was just a situation where I grew and my ex grew apart in many different directions. I could speak for myself. I wasn't really mature at that time. I'm still not really that mature, but I definitely wasn't mature. Didn't have a lot of patience, that type of thing. So it was different. I was still trying to finish up school because I worked while I was in school, so it took forever for me to get done. Didn't have the type of job I wanted. After we got divorced, I had the job that I really liked. Got paid a lot of money. And ended up buying my first brand new house. The house was only like, I don't know, 3 years old. Bought a brand spanking new car that year. So it was my big, you know, I blew a lot of money. And with Noelle, she basically continued on with life, you know, went and got her master's. Well, she was thinking about getting her master's. She was working at the time, met me, then she went and got her master's, that type of thing. But we had a difficult time gelling together because she was pretty much always thinking that she had to please people. And that involves her family, her friends, things like the friends at the time. Things like that. She felt like she had to really be a different person. Now, I'm not saying that everybody expected her to be a different person, but from what she said and what I saw, she was a different person. She was always happy, never had a bad day, everything was always great. But when she came home, or when we came home, the reality was there. She was, you know, she showed emotion. She showed that she was a human being, right? And I saw that. After 3 or 4 times, I would sit back kind of looking at her like, you're a little different. You know, why is it that you're different around me and you show every emotion under the sun, but you're not that way with everybody else? And also with coworkers, she was pretty much a normal person. Like, she showed whatever emotion she needed to. But when it came around friends and family, she just was a different person. So with me, I just had my guard up. You know, I had spent, you know, a couple of years out there gallivanting around and playing around and all that, that I just had my guard up and I didn't really take many people very seriously because I felt like the whole dating scene at that time was horrible, and I can only imagine how bad it is now. I just didn't like it. I hated the dating scene, didn't find any appeal in it. Either you or ended up, like I was being a little bit jaded, where I found women who were jaded from past situations, or you have people who have this king or queen complex where they feel like, you know, the next person that meets them has to jump through massive, massive hoops in order to even have the time of day for them. I understand to a degree that you want somebody that's worth your time, but when you can't have equality where you treat them the way you want to be treated, it's never going to work. And so you had a lot of people like that. So I just kind of had my guard up. With Noelle and I, you know, after we went on several dates and stuff, we just really and truly were battling our own demons. She was battling self-esteem stuff that she had dealt with. I was kind of battling, you know, like, where do I go from here type thing. Like, I got my career in order. I'm trying to get how do I get my personal life in order type thing. And just the trust issue. Just didn't trust anybody. She didn't trust anybody. And what really turned that around was after about 2 years of dealing with each other's silliness, and I would say lack of maturity, we really and truly grew up because we gave each other the time, the space, and the tools needed. Literally, I called her out on the fact that how come she's not the same around other people as she is when she's at work or when she's with me. And she said, huh? And she got to thinking like, yeah, I guess you're true. And I guess that's true, she said, you know. And so then she kind of started thinking about that, like, why is that? And, you know, she would call me out on things like, you know, you need to basically just man up, go for what you know, expect a lot out of a lot of people. You need to expect a lot out of yourself and go for it. You can do it, type of thing. And just be, you know, trust me. Open your heart and trust me. So we really and truly worked with each other, and we stuck by each other. We dealt with that storm for probably, what, 2 years, I guess. After that, it went from just kind of rocky and, you know, kind of straight. It wasn't like every day it was depressing. We were crying. Sorry, Zayda's not going to let me finish. So I'm probably going to have to stop this. Look. Yeah, she ain't going to let me finish. But real quick, we went from having probably an argument. We probably had 2 arguments a month. And they weren't like blowing out arguments, but probably disagreements, to having nothing. We would have maybe 1 disagreement a year. And it got to the point where we, understood each other and respected each other. I'll get to that later because you can't hear me right now. So I'm down in the man cave and adding some light here so that it doesn't look so dark in the video. But I wanted to finish up the video I did, and sorry for the echo because there's nothing in here literally except for some junk and some boxes right now, so I don't think you want to see that. But just got up early this morning, took a shower, so I feel pretty good. Haven't had my coffee yet, but I wanted to finish the conversation that I did, I don't know, a week ago, that was talking about how to find your soulmate and how you know, Noelle and I, how we got started and what our situation was. You know, with us, I was talking about how, you know, my ex and I, we grew apart. Noelle and her ex grew apart. We had gotten together, Noelle and I, in a period where we were pretty much still pretty wounded. And then we had our own issues to really deal with. So we really and truly didn't get along very well for the first 2 years of our relationship, where we just basically just did not have the belief in ourselves, I guess, that we could make a relationship work. And I think that's pretty common for people who have been through a divorce to feel that way. And then later on, and I got to this point, and then I had to stop because Zayda was getting upset. But later on, we literally felt like that, why not give each other a chance? I understood what Noelle's issues were. just over time, I became a lot more patient. I grew up a lot more. Those 2 years outside of the, when I was divorced really helped me a lot, even though I was out there, kind of being a slut. It helped me a lot because I was able to really understand what was important to me and what wasn't important to me, the people to stay away from, the people to give my time to. Just a lot of things I learned during that time. During that time, Noelle, really and truly, from her divorce, not a lot changed. So she was dealing with a lot at that time. Once we got together, and during that 2 years is when she really started to grow out of that situation too, and start to understand herself and believe in herself a little bit more. So a lot of the core issues that we had with each other really didn't involve each other. It was our own personal issues that we had from prior situations, and not just relationships with people that we were married to or dated with, but just in general. And so we soon, actually myself, I soon started to realize that Noelle had to be the person that would make sense for me. And even when we had our disagreements and, we were sitting here, we had bought a Wii, and when I said, I'm done, we're done, we were trying to figure out how to split up the Wii. I was like, well, I'll give you $50 or whatever the case was. And, we had, I had my cat, Kitty. And so we were trying to figure out on one of the numerous times that we did our fake breakup, she would get visitation rights to Kitty, and I'm like, yeah, right, you're just going to come over here to try to see me, that type of thing. But all of that stuff was really helpful because it made me realize that when she got in her car and left and went back to her apartment, I couldn't deal with not being with her. Like, it really was painful for her to leave and then she's not there. And it made me understand really quickly that I can't live without her. I assume she felt the same way too. I don't know. I didn't ask. But I just knew personally I just couldn't live without her, because knowing who she was personally and some of the things that makes her happy and the smallest things that make her smile and everything that she means to me, which I'm not going to go here and make this a big old sappy thing, but really everything that she meant to me, I couldn't do without. And had I just kind of brushed her to the side like I had done many people in the 2 years prior to her, we wouldn't have been together. And the only reason why I didn't give her the 3-strike rule, if you remember the video about 3 strikes, was because of the simple fact that I saw that through all of the walls that she had put up. I don't know how, but I just saw through all of those walls and I realized who the true person was. I actually knew who she was kind of before she did. And I think that she just kind of hid behind some sort of facade just to kind of get by and to cope with things. And she had told me similar that, she felt like I was the person that she was meant to be with. It just felt right. I can't really explain it. I don't know if it was, God talking or what, but it just felt right. And in other circumstances, and even in my past marriage, it didn't feel right. But this felt right. And so literally one day, instead of fighting maybe twice or 3 times a month, we didn't fight at all. And it was shocking that we didn't fight at all. And issues that normally would have been a topic of discussion was no longer a topic of discussion. It was no longer about me anymore. It was no longer just about her. I think that I was so busy trying to defend me that there was a wall there. And same thing for her. So once that kind of went away entirely, we never, until this day, we don't really argue about anything. We really don't have fights. I mean, there's disagreements about things like, we might argue about paint colors or something, and then finally she's like, yeah, that makes sense. Or, like when we're looking for houses, I'm like, I don't really like that house, or I like this house, that type of thing. But as far as having disagreements where we don't talk to each other, or you know, something like that, it just has never happened in the last, since we've been married, definitely. And in the last few months of when we were dating, it just never has happened. And some people will say, oh, everybody fights and everybody has disagreements and everybody. That's not necessarily true. I think that people do have points where they have a different point of view. And we can kind of talk about our point of view a little bit easier with each other now because we know each other and how to talk to each other, that we kind of reach common ground on things. Like I had to fight for this man cave, for example, you know, but it wasn't a long discussion. It was kind of like, you know, hey, I think I would like this man cave because of this, this, and this. She was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to take this room over here for my, you know, her crafting and whatever she wants to do. And I'm like, you know, cool. She didn't even have to tell me the reason why. I think that that's how we found ourselves with each other to begin with. I knew that she was going to be a good mother. I knew that my mom and her would get along well, which is extremely important to me. I never brought anyone around my mother except for my ex-wife and Noelle. That's it. I never brought people around that I dated. I never felt like anyone was really worth that. If you were worth going to see my mother, then that is a serious relationship for me. Now, that's just me personally. But I would say if you're looking for your soulmate, don't necessarily close the door on someone. You don't want someone that's just, you know, abusing you or something. But if there's things that you disagree with, that's fine. I think those are points for you to grow on. But I think that you have to literally take the time to get to know the person and see through things that they may have put up. A lot of people have been through some bad relationships, worse than what we've been in, and they're still in it. They don't realize it, but they're still in that relationship, even though the person that they were with have long been gone. So it takes time to kind of go through that, through the motions of it, through all the pain, through those situations in order to kind of just be a different person. Today I'm a completely different person than I was when Noelle and I first dated. And I'm an extremely different person than when I was first with my ex-wife. You know, people do evolve and change. I've definitely evolved and changed. I've grown a lot more patient. I've basically just, you know, ended up being more of a man, to be honest with you. So it takes time. I mean, us men sometimes take a lot longer than women to grow up. But I couldn't see my life any other way. Have 3 beautiful girls, have a beautiful wife, a really, really good life. Pretty successful. So that's our story. That's how we found our soulmate in each other. So hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't done so. Leave some comments down below. And until next time, I will see you.